to teach those kids the same thing. We are 48 out of 50 in terms of funding higher education in the state of Colorado compared to the other 50 states. 48 out of 50. I didn't get out of bed in the morning thinking, if I can just beat, and I won't say the state's name because inevitably somebody's here, right, who I will offend. You can insert the state's name that you think maybe is last in terms of funding. But rarely do we all think a great strategy is just to beat the worst state out there. Most of us would agree a better strategy is to figure out how do you get the outcomes we need from our educational system and feel confident about the funding going in and what we're getting out of it. And what I would tell you, that is the great lesson of the 3 ballot issues before us right now. They picked them wrong. These are overarching. They're tremendously negative for Colorado, and it helped us align and agree on that fact. But there's another piece here that we cannot lose sight of, and that is we do not have confidence in our ability to deliver outcomes in our government institutions, and particularly around education right now. That we know that there is no way to justify the funding going into our K-12 system and what we're getting out in terms of our kids. That we must demand reform and change that creates better outcomes, that delivers better results with the current funding, and then start to examine if other changes must be made. I think these 3 ballot issues should wake us up that the future of Colorado and what we want to have out of it is not as simple as saying no to issues that come up, but it has to have a proactive step that says, what do we do to move this forward? How do we create the future we want? Colorado is in a better position, and for anybody who's unemployed, I know this is hard to hear, but we are in a better position than most other, particularly this region, than most other states in the country, and in particular, most urban areas. We have lower unemployment. Our housing has not lost the kind of value that you see. You look at Phoenix, Las Vegas, Miami, a number of other cities in the country are just have been decimated in terms of their values, and we've not lost that. Our unemployment is still better, even at 8.2%. We're beating the country generally. The number one reason, by the way, that the Brookings Institute said we're better off than most, highly educated workforce. When somebody loses a job, instead of getting unemployment, what they will do is start a business. We are extremely entrepreneurial here. We are almost all small business, and by small, I mean extremely small, less than 50 workers. It is so important we figure out how to get capital into those businesses' hands. That's where our growth is going to come. That's how we're going to climb out, and that's how we're going to put Coloradans back to work. What I will emphasize is my commitment that the coalition of 640 people who have organizations who have come together to say we're going to defeat these 3, that we find a way to continue to work together. Not that we'll agree on everything, and not that it will be easy, but that we make a commitment about even how we disagree in Colorado. Maybe we sign something around civility that says we're committed that even when we disagree, we notify each other. We don't diminish other organizations, the values or what their own hopes and dreams are, how they see the future, but we focus on facts and issues. Because I think one of the things that is going to hurt Colorado more than disagreement on issues is to diminish each other to levels that we watch right now. So by the time we're all done, alls we all know about each other is everything that's wrong with each of us, instead of everything about what's possible or what's good and right. So I think there is a way to go forward, and I think groups like this are critical to help keep our feet to the fire and hold us accountable as we try to find that path for Colorado. I want to give you a chance to ask questions, challenge what I've said, have a little bit of fun. So let me turn it to you and see what's on your minds. And go to the microphone and use the microphone, right?
Yes, if anyone who'd like to ask a question, out of the courtesy for everyone in the room so we can all hear, please come here and ask a question of Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
I'm Lynn Woods with Tennyson Center for Children, and I work in the trenches with some of the worst abused kids in the state of Colorado. Over the last 3 years, we've seen 1,700 children a year, or 1,700 children a year in residential treatment care, and now we only see 700, and these are some of the most disturbed children in the state. And if 90% of the state budget goes to education, we will sink. And I just want to commend you and thank you for that advertising campaign. When I see it, I just am like, thank God somebody's doing something about it, because these are the kids that are hurt the most, and they will lose the most. So thank you.
Well, this is great, right? No questions, just come up and tell me I'm great. Thank you so much.
Hi, Kelly.
Oh, no.
I know.
This is a question, I know.
Okay, this is a softball, but
Okay.
Recently on Channel 8, I saw a debate between two that were in favor of, two that were opposed. The opposed, by the way, one Republican, one Democrat. They finished up, and those opposed said that we still have no idea who wrote these bills, how they got on, or amendments. And I find that hard to believe. Is that in fact the case?
Well, there is a court battle going on, for those who have been paying attention, on the 3 ballot issues. Doug Bruce has been, is the person that everyone believes is behind the issues, but there has been a fight in court over, whether that's accurate or true, and he has lawyers who say that's not accurate. I guess I'd say this to you, right? In Colorado, there's one thing, I don't mind disagreeing. I really like to know why you do what you do, and I like you to stand up and look me in the eye and tell me, right? And I think that's a value we have here. And so I think it is disconcerting not to be clear, because you're never sure then what's the rationale and reason for why we have these kinds of extreme measures. The group who I've had the chance to debate on this a number of times is the Colorado Union Taxpayers. I may got their name a little bit wrong. I apologize if someone knows, shout it out and I'll get it right. But their primary objective is they believe smaller government is better. And I think where we would all agree is more efficient, better results-oriented government is absolutely better. What we have to ask ourselves is the question of, is there a place where government gets so small that it's devastating? Is there a place where when we lose half of those 73,000 jobs are private sector jobs? Because, by the way, we'd be the only state in the union who couldn't issue debt. The only state in the union who couldn't issue debt. And the only game in town right now in terms of construction industry, and anybody out there in construction knows this is true, is public sector activity right now. And if we didn't have it happening, we would be devastated in terms of construction. And unemployment's probably around 25% in that industry right now. It's bad. So I don't know. I don't know who's behind it or why, but I would guess probably Doug Bruce has something to do with it and maybe could explain some of his rationale better than I can do for him. Hi, Andre.
Hi, Kelly. So $6.4 million a year of your time, thousands and thousands of volunteer hours. The Constitution of Colorado is, 10 times larger than the Constitution of the United States of America. How do we put an end to it? How do we make it harder to amend our Constitution so that we can focus on good stuff?
Yeah. So you voted 2 years ago on a referendum O and defeated it. That actually made it a little tougher to get things on the Constitution in Colorado. And so it failed once, but never once to feel like failure means you still shouldn't do it. There is a group of business folks looking at what makes sense in terms of slowing our own race down to create this crazy constitution that you can't govern under. And in particular, a couple of ideas have come up in that process. One is the signature collection process itself is very simple in Colorado. And there's been discussion, do you have a requirement that says those signatures have to come from a distribution around the state? In essence, you can't kind of go to your friendly city for your issue, Boulder or Colorado Springs or whatever your issue is, and have a whole bunch of folks sign there and put your issue on the ballot pretty simply and cheaply. But you'd have some requirement that says that distribution must be in counties around the state of Colorado so that it really truly represents the state of Colorado, what would go on the ballot. A second idea is, do you have a supermajority? 60% have to approve it to get it on the ballot. Makes it a little tougher. What you don't want to do in Colorado is to take away any of our ability to vote on issues. We like to vote, particularly